Hey everybody, it's the Prez. It's Monday, Meet the Experts, and I am really excited to have finally Johnny Detroit with us. Johnny, let's start with where you live.
I live in Metro Detroit.
Yeah, I know that was a joke. Your last name is Detroit. I'm the Prez. You're watching Meet the Experts. I've already started with him. Did you bring your wrestling mask?
Dude, no, I didn't bring the wrestling mask, but this is for Carmine. And this is also for Kelly and everyone else. Can you see it? Good Prez in the video?
Oh, yeah, baby. It looks incredible.
Dude, Carm did an amazing job hosting, setting it up, organizing it, and everything. And there's slots for every time that somebody wins, which continue to be my name. But, yeah, it was super cool. I kept telling Paula, do you want me to wear it to bed tonight? And he keeps saying no, but eventually she'll give in and let me wear it.
He's Johnny Detroit, COO of WagerTalk Media, owner of WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and the iconic Gold Sheet, with more to come. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things on this show today, Johnny. We're going to talk about your upbringing, some of your crazy, colorful friends, your gambling experiences, how you rocked women when you were young, because we love that topic. I met your ex once in Vegas. She was a beauty, a whole different conversation. And we're going to talk about Wager Talk and what our secret sauce is, why we are who we are, why we chose to make the decisions we have made, and what is upcoming for WagerTalk.com. Dude, let's just start with COVID right off the bat. What have you been doing these days? I mean, I know unequivocally you're working about 14 hours a day still, but you're watching TV, you're listening to music, you're studying rock, paper, scissors, and you're Pelotoning it.
Yes. I mean, honestly, when it first happened, it sucked for clearly obvious reasons. I mean, we had our show at Caesar's Palace. That was going to be 3 hours live. I was going out to Vegas. Like, our trajectory was mind-boggling. Like, where we were headed, the shit we had planned, the media people we were speaking with was mind-blowing. And then the obvious happened. So that sucked. But to be honest, seeing the sports come back, spending time with the family. I mean, I'm at the office, you know this, 10, 15 hours a day. Missy and them could attest, it's not an exaggeration, is to be able to spend time with my kids, sit down for dinner, shoot some hoops. But I started being a fat slob, dude. I'm talking Stouffer's French bread pizza, chocolate chip cookies, popping an edible at night because my anxiety, because everything going on. I was pushing 200, bro. So, talking with you and Rick, I decided I got the Peloton. So then I started dropping some weight. But, watching a lot of TV, I watched the whole, from season 1 on to Big Bang Theory. As me and you talk a lot, a shit ton of documentaries, just staying on top of things, and just want to say this real quick. One thing that did suck is a friend of mine, he passed away on Easter Sunday from COVID, which really was sad, because just before this happened, the last day that I was in the office, he's just, big biker dude, tattoos on his head, but one of the nicest fucking people you'd ever meet. And he was up here hanging out with me the last day I was at the office, and on Easter Sunday he passed. So that was pretty tough.
Yeah, dude, I know. Rick and I spoke to you about it in detail, and he also lost his parents, but never ended up finding out about that.
All three of them went on ventilators around the same time. His dad died a week previous. His mom 3 days later. None of them knew about the other ones. And Easter Sunday, his old lady texted me and said Keith passed. It broke my heart.
Guys, welcome to the chat. Abel, love to see you. CS Pill 99, welcome my friend Vivian Prezman, the most beautiful woman on the planet. Welcome to the show. Viv rode today, Johnny, and so did you. Arthur Fonzarelli. Johnny, what is my icon? Oh, it used to be my Twitter icon. My Twitter, what is it?
The exact same one.
The Fonz. Like, the Fonz, it was left such an indelible print on me personally. I mean, that was an era that I grew up in, and I never missed a show. And of course, Chris at Wager Talk, always hanging out in our chat room, running everything like usual. Johnny, guys, anybody have questions, let us know. We're going to start right off the bat with a question from the Fonz himself. He grew up an hour north of where you're from. Anyway, there's a band currently called Greta Van Fleet. Are you familiar?
Yeah, that's the young kids, ain't it? That they sound like an actual old school rock band. That era when people played instruments.
Yeah, he said younger guys sound like Led Zeppelin. I got to listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty badass. They're out by Frankenmuth.
Yeah, I got to get my butt over to Detroit. We're only 3.5, 4 hour drive from each other, and we did have plans on me and Rick coming into Detroit, but then COVID took over. But it's going to happen, and maybe we'll spend a night at the Windsor Casino. I'm sure a place that you have been a lot.
Well, not since they opened the Detroit ones. Plus, I mean, it's crazy. Is when I was younger, and anyone in the area by Detroit would remember this. Is before 9/11, you went across the bridge. I mean, there was really no security. They did not give a shit. I mean, you would be drinking in
Except
a car.
I got busted going across the bridge.
So being 19 years old, you were allowed to drink in Canada. So we lived in there. But it's so crazy. My nieces, my nephews, like, they don't even go over there because 9/11 happened, and now it's like guys with machine guns, and they'll ask you, why are you going across? Where's your ID? What are you going over there for? So people don't even go. It's just crazy that generational change of how things were different.
1993, I got busted.
You graduated.
Going into Detroit on the Windsor Bridge. It's in my script. Chris is going to be reading it the next few days. It's part of the movie. True story. But it's way too long to get into now, and this show is about you. Johnny, we're going to do a lot of talking about Wager Talk, but let's start with, you grew up, working class area of Detroit. You got a eclectic, colorful group of friends, some dead, some in jail. Why don't you tell us about that?
I grew up, and it was weird is because, the way you grew up is how you view the world, right? So, like, I didn't really understand things like racism and things like that until I was a little bit older. But I was like, the cool white kid. I used to play cards with the homies, tonk and drinking 40s and growing up. And it was weird as we almost kind of split where, when we started getting older, some of the friends went one way, we still stay in touch and talk and, meet at the bar. Then another group went another way. Like I remember my friend Ray Shine leaving my house and, he got shot, a couple blocks away. My friend Johnny, went to Leavenworth for robbing a bank. I had another friend who went to prison, a deal went wrong and a couple guys ended up getting burnt up in a car. So I was around a lot of that growing up, and it almost seemed like normal. And it wasn't until I went to Michigan, Dearborn, that I realized, like, well, this isn't really normal. So, but to be honest, I think growing up like that and being around different people and seeing different paths kind of made me the person I am, where people who are pigeonholed a certain way or grow up around a certain type of people, like that's all where, I could talk classic rap, I could talk World War II history. So I'll never, ever forget where I came from. And to be honest, I would have never wanted to grow up any other way.
So what made you take the path to the right or the right path?
In 6th grade, true story, my teacher told my mom, she goes, he's either going to be the president of the United States or he's going to be the head of a mafia.
So she was wrong.
Because I ended up being in the middle. You know what I mean? Because that was the whole trajectory of like which way I was going to go. And to be honest, like I had a really good family structure. My dad's old school, worked for it his whole life, retired. My mom's stay-at-home mom. So I just kind of realized I wanted more. And, when I went off to Michigan, Dearborn, and I started meeting other people, I kind of realized, okay, I don't want to end up in jail. It's fun playing Tecmo Bowl, drinking 40s. But how long am I going to do that? That story never ends well. I've seen enough true crime movies and read enough books. Like the smartest person in the world always ends up going down. And I was like, that ain't going to be me.
So you went to work at Ford. You were a brand investigator. You went undercover at trade shows, finding counterfeit goods and fraud. That sounds like a reality series, Johnny. I mean, there's got to be amazing color to that stuff.
Oh, my God. Look, real quick, it was probably the coolest job besides this I ever had. And the cool part was around the time that Ford was transitioning back to Bill Ford coming in, where they were going away from that European style. And at that time, the head of all the Ford security people, they were like dorky white guys, right? Like they had a degree in criminology or whatever. So when Ford came in, he got all these old school FBI guys and old school CIA guys that, were investigating the mob. So like the whole atmosphere changed. So we used to look into counterfeiting fraud. And some of the funnier stories was, well, not funny, but there was a time when there was a bunch of parts were leaking out of that plant in Canada where they used to make the Wind Stars. and they ended up catching the guy that was doing it. And it was weird because like the Hells Angels were involved. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing we were dealing with, where they were like setting shit up to see a lot
So
of
it
the
must have
plants.
been in Kingston.
I forgot where the hell that Ford plant that
It had to have been in Kingston if the Hells Angels were involved.
But, we did that, we'd go to the trade shows and there'd be, the Chinese companies, and you'd go and you'd act like you wanted them to make some fake parts, and they would talk to you on the side, or suppliers sneaking shit out of the back. But we used to, the funny part is, because I was a young guy, I was in charge of a lot of the internet stuff. And, it would just be random shit we'd find out. Like we had some goober, he was on eBay, and they used to do a lot of warranty fraud at some certain dealerships. And the guy was selling a full engine for a Ford vehicle. And I ended up catching him, and my boss was like so proud of me. And I'm like, dude, I go, the idiot was in the picture with the engine. They had his fucking Ford jersey on with his name in the dealership, So it was a cool job. I mean, I got to travel. I busted a lot of, people that were scamming out of the system. Actually, there's like 5 people on the planet that know this. I actually helped save the Ford Cobra emblem. There was a company in California that was using it. We tried suing them, but because there was a break of Ford releasing the Cobra, they tried fighting it. And I had to do all this research and find these old drawings to prove we still own the rights to it. So it was a pretty fun job, and it was really tough to leave because I kind of did what I wanted. My boss loved me. I made good money, and I was young, and I was hustling on the side, booking and running car games. But eventually I made the decision to leave and do this full time.
Well, we're glad you did, brother. And look, you've been involved in sports betting and poker for decades now. You were part of the Team Bodog. You played at the main event WSOP the year Jamie Gold won. I was there as well. I didn't play in that main event. But I'm guessing you did not do exceptionally well. Plus, I've seen you play poker.
Yeah, I lost day 2, but my friend Justin Scott actually won a bracelet. I think he won almost $1 million. And if you find the interview online, he says, they go, what means more, the money or the bracelet? And he said, the bracelet, because I'll be broke in a month. He burned through the money in 8 months.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of poker guys are. I mean, there's a handful that I know, like Kata, Dave Williams, that they did well, but I got other friends that, had huge scores. I got friends that won bracelets, and, they just burn through the money because they just love the action too much.
Well, I mean, we see that all the time, and obviously I know Dave Williams well, so do you. I know Negreanu. I know a lot of these guys. And ultimately the issue is it's called no limit hold'em for a reason, and no matter how much money you have, you just keep betting more, you keep playing in bigger games, and the roller coaster ends when you hit rock bottom, and it happens to everybody. So many of these guys are staking each other. You look down, you see a guy has $10 million in tournament winnings. You don't realize that 8 million of those were staked. He's broke. He's running around trying to figure out how to get a buy-in.
Most of the guys I know, and that's the thing is a lot of the guys that I respect, either guys that, are well-known guys with bracelets or underground card players that I know that are really going to do it for a living. The main thing that they say is most people don't understand the limit structure in terms of like, oh, I'm going to go play 5-10. And with the randomness of, you could have 2-9 offsuit and I could have aces, and, you could win 2-3 times in a row versus me. And if you're constantly going all and you don't have the bankroll to withstand those swings, you're going to go busto. And, that's the key thing that people don't get is like, oh, I'm not going to play that. That's like wimpy stakes. Yeah, but you can't technically afford to play even a 2-5 game. Requires a decent bankroll because of the swings.
Johnny, we're going to get back to your experience, your job at pregame. You owned Let It Ride Sports. We're going to talk about the bar you owned called Mix. But let's get straight into Wager Talk. Before we do that, I just want to let everybody know first, thanks like always joining us in the chat room. We love having you. We love all the regular guys, Kane, Abel. We did hear today, and I didn't hear it myself, but we were told from Chris that Superman, who is the gentleman that does all the what do you call it? Like the title, like
the timestamps. When we have a Hall of Fame one day, he's definitely going to go into the Wager Talk fan wing for sure on the first ballot.
Yeah, so he's the person that does all the timestamps on every YouTube video we make. We do not pay him. We never asked him. It just started to happen. We are very thankful, but he has injured himself somehow seriously and will no longer be doing that. So hats off to Superman. I took my hat off, Johnny. Now I'm a mess. Hats off to that man, and I hope.
Should wear a hat. Look at my dude. I sat and played with this goddamn chair. I'm like, I can't get the damn thing to get off my head. So it is what it is. I'm just gonna have a
so anyway, we want to wish him all the best, guys.
Sure.
The schedule for this week is really packed, jam-packed. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, college football betting show with Drew Martin, Ralph Michaels, and Rob Vino. 3 p.m. Eastern, myself, Matt Joseph, and Ralph Michaels will be taking apart the NFC North. Wednesday and Friday, 1 p.m. stoppage time. And don't forget, guys, we have a NASCAR show. It starts we did one last Wednesday with me hosting. Johnny texted me saying, you cannot host any longer. You know nothing about NASCAR. And I said, you are correct. I didn't even argue with you. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I would have done the same job that you did, so I can't.
I was pretty happy with my job, frankly. So we have a new host for that show, Steve Merrill. A lot of you have heard of him. He'll actually be joining the Sports Memo team full time. He'll be hosting the show with Rocky Atkinson, Rocketman Sports, and Andy Lang. So that's going to be a real fun show. So make sure to check that out. Johnny, you got a call from me a year after Wager Talk was started. You had no interest in joining this industry. You were currently doing some startup work with fantasy sites.
Yep.
And like normal, I did not take no for an answer and incessantly bothered you until you joined us. And for that, I can't thank you enough.
I can't thank you.
Let's start with, why did you decide to join us? Well, it was myself and Marco at the time. We did have a team assembled, but we really were just treading water. You came in and you exploded this website in so many ways, which we'll talk about. But let's begin with, why us?
To be honest, I've known Marco at least 20 years. I've known you since the Who to Bet On days. Social media, despite all the flaws in it, and the toxicity of how people talk, it is a way for you to keep in touch with people and, old friends. And, we kept in touch. Is when you guys came to me, you kind of said, look, Marco wants to focus more on being a handicapper and focus on that end of it. You wanted to focus more on the business end of it. We need someone who comes in and run the day-to-day. And I said, if I'm going to do it, I kind of want to do it my way. And you both right away were like, go ahead. And I was like, I went to Paula and I said, hey, I know when I said I was done with this business and I was going to start doing other stuff because of the stress and the amount of hours, I said I was done. She said, just like she said the day that I left Ford Motor Company, when she was pregnant, mind you, and supported me walking away from that job to do pregame when I went over there, she did the same with this. So we started. We didn't really have any money coming in. We had a little bit of an investment, and it was a lot of hard work. And when I kind of got to the point that it was almost too much for me, it was when we started adding on a lot of our team members, and from Marco to Teddy to Nick to Rick to you to Minty to Kelly to Tony. I go on and on. I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but we've assembled such a great team that it's almost like you can't keep up with it. If people saw the amount of emails and offers that we get, or hey, do you want to do this with us? Can we do this with you, kind of thing? It's mind blowing, and it's humbling. It's very humbling, considering how we started. To use that certain line for the Sopranos. Despite like all your connects, we didn't have a lot of things going on because no matter who we knew or you knew, in the end, we didn't really have the traffic. We didn't have the views on YouTube. We didn't have the social media following. So nobody was going to give us a platform. So, we busted our ass and we built the platform. And it's almost to a point that we dictate a lot of the terms with people that wouldn't even talk to us 3 years ago. So that's very exciting also.
Yeah, and we're going to get a deep dive into that stuff. Taif Taka asks us, would you consider taking investors in your company? Taif, I'd consider selling my child at the right price. So yeah, sure. We have taken investors before, and we're always interested. I know you have my email. Email me your phone number. I'll give you a buzz tomorrow. I'm happy to listen. No problem at all. Just so everybody knows, look, I want to also talk business stuff too, give advice. And, I'm 51 on Friday. I've done this before. I built Who to Bet On from scratch without Johnny Detroit. And now, I'm partners in WagerTalk. And, my biggest advice to anybody starting a company, period, is make sure that you find people smarter than you. We all hear about that all the time. But I look back at my 6 years of WagerTalk, and I think to myself, the best thing I ever did was pretty much hand the reins over to you. You run the company from a day-to-day perspective. I am, me, you, and Rick have weekly phone calls. I'm very much involved with what you're thinking. But the standard answer that I get from you, that I give you, is whatever you want, Johnny.
That's
Johnny is the boss of WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Rick is the CEO of the Media Corporation. And, I don't know where I fit in. I run a lot of the videos, and I'm very much involved in all the very high-end decision-making processes. But when push comes to shove, the best thing I ever did was hire you. And dude, I'm not here to lick your butt. I'm just telling it the way it is.
not.
But I mean, dude, guys, in all seriousness, Johnny works, and I'm not kidding you, about 14 hours a week, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. He texts Rick and I regularly how his wife's about to kill him because he's never home. That's what it takes, everybody. It takes incredible amount of work. It takes an incredible amount of humility. I'm an arrogant guy. I'm a narcissist. Everybody knows it. They hear me every day. It takes a lot of effort to pull back and let somebody else ride the train. And you're that person, Johnny. It's been unbelievable to watch. Let's get into what makes WagerTalk different. When you joined us, you had a lot of ideas. Almost all of them have been implemented. WagerTalk is a reflection of you. So tell us what makes us different.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to go back to that a little bit. I would say, not because, I'm smarter than everyone else or anything like that, but, because I do run the day-to-day, a large portion of what we do, what we produce, how we do things do come from me because I'm ultimately responsible for that. But, let's be frank, you, Marco, Kelly, Tony, I mean, across Ralph constantly, that's one of the things is, like you mentioned earlier when you were saying of surrounding yourself with smart people. It's that cliche, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And if you try doing everything yourself, nobody is an expert at anything. So we have an amazing team, which is exciting to me because I can come up with an idea and we have the right people for it. If I have an idea for a show, right, straight from the strip, I have the luxury. I got Kelly, Minty, and Ace, right? I want to do a hockey show. I got you. I got, Alex. I got Andrew. Dave knows hockey. Carmine. So a lot of that went into this is, one, being in this industry so long, knowing so many of the people in this space. I was the kid just like everyone else, and I watched all the Meet the Expert shows, calling the Kevin Duffys and, going through that bad experience of like, oh my God, a game of the year, it has to be that good. Let me bet everything. And then I'm slinging my baseball cards in the locker room at school because I went busto. So I wanted to really start to change and do things different, customer focus, customer service, having realistic expectations. And it was hard because at the end, and a lot of people don't understand this, is in the end, you have to pay the bills. And when you're trying to change an industry that's decades old, doing away a certain way, and, this isn't to pass the blame, but a lot of the things that's hard for us to slowly transition to is because of almost the customer base that for years and years and years, they've been trained to buy a game of the year. So if we went out on our day one and did everything that me, you, Marco, and everybody wanted to do to change this industry and take the taboo aspect off of it and not have us be like this scummy, scumbag type industry, we couldn't do it all at once. You would be broke, right? So, we did have games of the year in the very beginning. And we eventually, when we got to the point to say, okay, we don't want these because we never wanted these, we transitioned those out. The videos, the content. I mean, there's no real revenue coming into WagerTalk right now. And let's Missy, our amazing customer service team with her and Melissa, Chris running the videos, they're not doing this for free because I'm charming. Like, we're still paying the bills, but we felt it was an obligation not only to have our brand out there, but to entertain our audience. And we're producing 2 to 3 videos a day when you factor in the Skype stuff that, you know, Minty does with gaming today, because it's customer based. I mean, no disrespect, it's, you know, I'm friends with a lot of our competitors, but why did all their videos stop when this shit happened, right? Because if you're not giving them money, they're not giving a little bit back. Like, we've always wanted to give you more and build the brand. So, you know, strong customer service, strong emphasis on quality, entertaining type content, using the analytics and the feedback, reading the comments. What do the people want?
Yeah.
Because in the end, you know, social media and the way things are now, in the old days, it was broadcasting. Like, they told you to buy this cigarette, right? You had 3 TV stations. Nobody is forcing you to watch this, right? Like, nobody is forcing you to follow the Prez or us on social media. The consumer has such power now to build a platform that they feel comfortable with and entertained. I think was something that separates us from everyone else.
Yeah, and let's talk about a few of those things. First and foremost, we do not allow games of the year at WagerTalk or Sports Memo ever. That's a staple in our industry. It's been around for 40, 50 years. It's really where most of the handicappers make all their money, and we leave money on the table.
A lot of money.
Sorry?
We leave a lot of money on the table because, you know, everyone else is doing it. So it's like, we are in a detriment, but we feel that we're building a brand. And between how big our social medias or YouTube channel is, to me, like, the dynamics of it have transitioned, right? When we had, you know, 600 people on YouTube, or we had 2,000 Twitter followers for WagerTalk, it's really hard to dictate the terms and come in and say, no games of the year, you know, quality customer service, you should provide, you know, more content versus what you're trying to force down their throats and getting them to give you money. You can't do that, or we would have been busto in the first year. So as we grow and we expand, you'll see, like, a lot of this stuff, you know, whether it's 150% back, the no games of the year, you know, more quality videos.
Yeah, let's talk about
part of our playbook.
Let's talk about those videos. Before we get into that, I just want to say, chat room is active. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. Kyle, Anthony, great call on Inge on Saturday night. You had Walt Harris as well, and man, he had him. That was a hell of a fight. But Kyle did mention that it'll take payment in booze. Kyle, I don't want you drinking. If you drink, please put your phone away. Lock it in a safe. Forget the code. No drinking for you, Kyle Anthony. So, Johnny, we spoke about no games of the year. We also lowered our unit structure. A lot of our competitors are putting out 10-star plays. Sorry, go ahead.
40% and all that other nonsense. Yep.
Yeah, and yes, Kyle, you won Holland as well. You went 2-1. Congratulations. So we changed our unit structure. The other thing I want to talk about, Johnny, is our customer service. I know a lot of our competitors, really, you email them, you're lucky to get a response. You have a full team in Detroit that does more than one thing. Not only do we have a customer service department, but we also do surveys on a regular basis to find out what everybody wants. And we study data. And when I say we study data, Rick and I read your studying of data, and it is incessant, never-ending emails. So talk to us about that, because it's really something that doesn't exist to any degree in our business.
I mean, I use this line all the time. Sometimes when, you know, me and you argue, or, you know, we get on, you know, the owner calls and there's a disagreement, is, to me, you could have an opinion because you got the knowledge, industry knowledge, you're educated, you know, whatever the reason may be. But in the end, you can have an opinion. It kind of goes back to like that elementary school thing. You got a hypothesis, you test it. the data's there. Like the analytics are there. Like you could look, when do people come to the site? When do they do this? What do they like? Reading the comments. And, Missy and Melissa, I mean, it's funny they know some of these customers in terms of like their families
Yep.
and, what they like. And we go so far above customer service. And I used to have a saying, and I kind of transitioned seeing what Missy and Melissa were able to kind of accomplish, is I used to always yell at them. And Missy especially was, stop answering these goddamn emails at 11 o'clock at night. Like, we can't hold ourselves to a higher standard than Bank of America, Delta Airlines, and Amazon. Like, call your bank at midnight, right, for something basic. They're not going to answer the phone. Email them. You're not going to get a response for 2 days. But then it kind of opened my eyes of like, if we're there, it's now becoming part of the experience. And if they're giving us money, then we need to show them the respect. And I tell the handicappers this. I said, if you're going to be on Twitter and you're going to brag that you're 8-1 or what you're doing, I said, you need to be faster on Twitter when you lose. Because that is another big difference, Lawrence, with us and everybody else. Is we are not afraid to say we lost or we sucked. I mean, we've sent emails out saying, hey, this $2 was never in the ballpark. I mean, we have an inventory of pictures and emojis that the Melissas use. I mean, and we have, bags over the head and emojis of poo. Because why? I mean, they know they lost, right? With social media, people are going to find out about it. So to turtle and act like you're in the silo and think that these people are stupid and naive, and like if you don't talk that you just sucked, is going to make them forget about it is stupid. So get in front of it, acknowledge you screwed up, especially in today's age, Lawrence, where so many people don't take accountability. They're passing the blame. It's somebody else's fault. No, in the end,
I wonder where they get that from, Johnny. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to go there. Keep going.
I
think it's the scientists' fault.
I just think it's the over wussing down of everybody is, you don't. I mean, it's a whole. I don't want to piss anyone off getting into.
I know, dude. I'm only kidding with you.
But I mean, we're on the same page with that. Is to take the accountability, and it's sad to say this, is something as simple as saying we screwed up and saying it before they email us and we contacting them, like blows their mind. So it's like certain things that we're doing that is some of our secret sauce isn't secret. It's common courtesy and respect.
It's secret in regards to this industry. We also have about 500,000 Twitter followers amongst everybody, 400,000. To give everybody perspective, go take a look at our competitors' YouTube channels, compare it to ours. Go take a look at our competitors' Twitter, compare it to ours. Go take a look at our competitors' rosters, compare it to ours. On that note, and that's where I want to stop for a second, we have the best team ever assembled, both from a management level and a handicapping level, and we have more coming. We are radically changing Sports Memo. Johnny, why don't you talk about that?
Well, one of the things that we decided to do is with our, like you said, our platform becoming so big, and I just want to double back really fast, is what we did is all organic. And what I mean by that is if you see somebody, they have 30,000 followers, right? Or they have 50,000 YouTube subscribers, but they never get comments, they never get likes, they never get retweets. They're using bots or they're using programs, and it's all bullshit. Everything that we have done has been organic. And to me, the reason that is powerful goes back to what I said earlier, is people have to make that conscious decision to watch a video, to like it, to share it, to follow us, to retweet. And we've been able to accomplish that. So the next phase is, as we grow and we could start reaching a critical mass, as we look around, and some people like how we do it, right? Some people like, say, how Covers does things, is we're actually creating a huge change of Sports Memo. We're bringing in some of these guys, the Mark Lawrences, the Steve Merrills, the Big Al's, because people do like, and they have a following. So instead of our customer base that, you get the amazing customer service that you get with the Melissas, right? The guarantees with the 150 on the 5%, the wager rewards, the wager bucks. I mean, the quality content where, you could engage with our handicappers, and our people aren't just stock photos on a website where you're like, dude, does this guy even exist? I mean, I remember back in the day, and he was an amazing guy, and I knew him not like where we were sending Christmas cards, but pretty well, as Lenny Del Genio was like an old school Vegas legend. And when Lenny passed away, I mean, he was selling picks on a lot of sites. And I mean, no shit. I mean, some of these sites were still at his photo up putting pics up.
Yep.
I'm like, Lenny died like 2 weeks ago.
Dude, there's a lot of seriously large competitors in this industry that are using made up people
Oh, it's so sad.
to sell picks just so that they could keep 100% of the profit. It's disgusting. It's shameful.
They're flipping coins. So to us is, instead of somebody having to say go and buy, their Marcos or their Ralphs or whatnot at Wager Talk, and the Sports Memo guys, why not have that Wager Talk experience? And that's what it is. It's an experience. Instead of having to go to these other sites, you could do almost like an amazing buffet, right? Somebody wants the crab legs, somebody wants the prime rib, maybe somebody wants both. Our goal is to provide everything that everybody wants and doing under our terms. So yes, some of these guys may be at other sites, but they won't be able to do a game of the year.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So let's talk about that. And before that, I just want to mention amazing buffet is an oxymoron. So guys, what we're saying here is we're going to be redoing Sports Memo from scratch. We look at Wager Talk, and these guys, 90% of the guys at Wager Talk are exclusive to us. You can't find them anywhere else. They're under long-term contracts. We work with them. They're family to us, and it's the same with Sports Memo. But what Johnny, Rick, and I realized is there's a lot of people out there that are going to our competitors and that are buying Steve Merrill and Matt Fargo and Mark Lawrence and Ben Burns. I mean, Ben Burns might be one of the largest selling handicappers online in history. And we're just not not utilizing those guys. And we're friends with those guys. These are good people. I had a conversation with Ben last week. Beautiful family, just got himself a gorgeous dog. Steve Merrill, one of my favorite guys. Big L has always been very dear to me. Mark Lawrence is a mentor figure. So Johnny, Rick, and I got together and we said, okay, our site is so massive. We have more traffic than anybody. We have more YouTube followers than anybody. We have more Twitter followers than anybody. In 6 years, we have taken such a monstrous chunk out of this industry. Why not go to the people that we have known our whole industry lives and build a website where you don't have to go to our competitors. If you like Big L, you can buy him from the Wager Talk family. If you like Steve Merrill, you can buy him from the Wager Talk family. Let's stop the leakage, Johnny. That was the word we used. Let's stop the leakage. Let our listeners, our viewers, our customers be able to buy anybody they want so long as they remain inside of the Wager Talk family. So over the next couple of weeks, there's going to be radical changes to Sports Memo. We will be introducing Big Al, Mark Lawrence, Ben Burns, Steve Merrill, Matt Fargo, ASA Wins, Rocky Atkinson, and of course we are going to keep some of the current handicappers there. We are moving a few over to Wager Talk as well. So a lot of really exciting stuff coming, Johnny, and I'm excited, man. I mean, in all seriousness, once we add the Big Al's and the Mark Lawrences of this world, there is simply no reason to go anywhere else.
Plus, the thing is, because of how big our social network, our video content is, the studio in Vegas, these guys are going to be involved with that content now. So
yep.
If you were a big fan of a Mark Lawrence, to be able to see Mark and the amazing data that he has and see him sitting next to a Ralph or you're having him sit with Lawrence and Rob Vino or Drew or whomever it may be, is to me, it's not just, say, greed on our end of saying, hey, we want these guys here too so we can maximize this industry. We're not just doing it where you're going to, okay, it's no different than covers or this other site because they're still the same stock photos. You're going to be able to see these guys on videos and content. And it's almost going to double the video content we have planned. And the stuff that we're working on, we had to keep our techs on. Like I mentioned, is nobody's working right now for free for us. We're still putting out the videos, but we still have our techs or designers working and paid full time to work on the odds. We have a plan for a third site that, is going to be a minor league farm type system site that's going to be feeding into the Wager Talks and Sports Memos. We're going to be revamping. Rick's team's doing an amazing job digitizing It's funny. His gold sheet has like shit written on paper, no bullshit, dating back to the
50s
on paper.
Yep.
So we're taking all of that and putting it all digitized online. I mean, if people saw what we were doing and working on.
Yeah. Well, let's give them a quick summary of that. So we've got a bunch of changes coming on Sports Memo. We've got a few changes coming on Wager Talk. We are redoing our Wager Bucks program.
Yep.
We have an odds product, a line service product coming that is world class. Johnny will talk about that.
But we need to stop right there. Is the techs that are working with Rick? Is if you used a paid line service, the $500 a month ones in probably the last 2 decades, the people that built, maintained, set those up are working with us now.
Yep.
Rick pretty much ran and managed Don Best. I don't know if everyone watched Rick's video. Created a competitor almost from scratch with this tech and built it up that he became such a competitor of Don Best. They bought it and brought Rick back. So not only do we have this amazing, talented handicapping squad, we have an amazing, talented, media type squad that we're going to continue to build that Kelly manages. We have an ownership squad, a day-to-day squad. Is just across the board of the team and the people we have and the people that you guys don't see. You see Lawrence in the videos. Clearly you see Kelly in the Minties or the Marcos. Randomly, you'll see me on Twitter or a video like this. But the techs that we have been the people that have built the things that the people in this space, the casinos, the professional bettors have used. Yep. And we're going to build it and have it where, and this goes back to what I said beginning, Lawrence, is we're going to have it where it's now affordable. An average guy would never have been able to get to pay Don Best and pay $500 ever.
$500 a month.
Is to be able to create a product that is better than the stuff that's out there at a reasonable rate is something that, once again, is our industry is not going to be able to compete with. They're going to get to the point that, and it was kind of opened my eyes when we talked to that large investor out of Europe when they were going through all the sites they were looking at. I remember they said this blew their mind, is our average demographic is like 21 to 35 by far. And they said every other site that they looked at was like 45 and up. The next biggest was like 55 and up. So, like, their audience is aging and not using social media. So they can get away with not doing videos and not giving a shit. But where are they going to be at in 5 years? In 5 years, they're either going to be not around, be bought by us, or they're going to have to come work with us. Because they're not going to be able to compete because the younger, newer generation, the people that in these states are becoming legalized, they're going to demand quality content. They're going to demand quality customer service. You know what I mean? They're going to demand transparency where you're not firing, 7 games a year in a 30-day period. And these other people, aren't going to be able to adapt to that. And they don't have the critical mass we have that they're not going to be able to change what they're doing. And they're going to go down swinging, but they are going to go down. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, guys. This is not. Johnny, do you have your headphones in?
No.
I echoed there. Guys, this is not meant to be a commercial for Wager Talk. What we're trying to do is just tell you the difference between us and our competitors and also to let everybody know what's coming. Quick shout out to Abel again. Dude, you are the freaking bomb. Guys, listening to us, watching soccer, smoking a joint, and listening to the Doors. I love this dude. I mean, the Doors rock. You can talk, Johnny.
No, I'm skipping. There was a comment somewhere. It was from. I don't want to go find it. I'm trying to keep up with the comments, but I don't want to interrupt you, which I just kind of did anyway.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. Also, guys, we have new websites coming. They should be up in the next 4 weeks. So watch out for that. The websites look great. And one of the things Johnny was talking about is the video content. With Big Al and Mark, Lawrence, Steve, Matt, all of these guys joining Sports Memo, we're going to be doubling our video content. We will be having 2 baseball shows, 2 NBA shows, 2 college hoops shows. And the reason, people say to me and Johnny, why have 2? Some people like the way I host. Some people like the way Drew hosts. Some people like the way Tony talks. Some people like the way Vino talks. We just want to be able to provide you guys with the ability to pick what you like and who you want to listen to. The more the merrier as far as we are concerned. And also don't forget our NASCAR show on Wednesday. Johnny, let's get back into your life. So you're at the Ford plant, you're checking out fraud and counterfeiting, and then you head over to, you start your own site. I guess you quit or you did it at the same time. You started a site called Let It Ride Sports.
I had that before. I'll never forget that. It was around when the internet first started getting popular, when it took like 10 minutes to see Pam Anderson's tits on dial-up, and you prayed to God that someone didn't pick a phone up in the house and you got disconnected. I started a site, LetItRideSports.com. It's based off my favorite gambling movie. If you're a horse racing person, Let It Ride. And I'll never forget, it was kind of for fun. And I was working at Ford. At this time, I was working as a part expediter. And I'm sitting at my desk, and a friend of mine who kind of was the original one that pushed me to do this, named Jason Ferguson. He went by the name Betting Profits and Nittany Lion, which is funny, on the old WagerTalk message forum. So this is, I got to stop and tell this. This is a hilarious story. When Marco was thinking of what to do, and you guys were going through names, he was constantly texting me saying, hey, do you mind giving me, what you think of this? What do you think of this? I'm moving forward with Lawrence, and we're going to get a new name. And when he said WagerTalk, I was like, are you serious? And he goes, why? I said, dude, that was the first site that I ever posted on, ever, where I came up with the whole Johnny Detroit name. Because I remember sitting there, and everyone had these cool nicknames. And I'm like, I can't just go in there and say, hi, I'm Johnny. So let me come up with a cool nickname. And what happened was when Covers bought WagerLine, Covers already had an existing form. A lot of people might not know this. And I would love to do a history of this industry because there's so many crazy things behind the scenes people to know. Is Covers spent $1 million. They bought WagerLine to get the WagerLine platform. But they had a forum. So nobody really gave a shit about WagerTalk, the forum. And at some point, it expired. Somebody
we
bought
got
it.
really lucky.
Oh, did we buy it? It was like $500 or something.
$2,000.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I'm like, there's no way that name is available.
Dude, we paid $2,000 for the name WagerTalk. One of the best things we've ever done, that's for sure. You weren't around at the time, but I know Marco was texting you.
Props to Marco when he was doing the due diligence on the names. So I let it ride, and then I was doing it more for fun. And then I remember his name was Eddie Hadid. He used to own a place called Aladdin's Gold, and then he had what the hell was he had another one? He had a couple different Paradise something. And I remember calling him and saying, you want to advertise? And he offered me some money, and I almost fell out of my chair. I'm like, holy shit, someone paying me to put up a banner? And this was back in the beginning. I don't know if you remember this, Lawrence, is you used to be able to fund the offshores with PayPal. Like the government had no clue.
Right?
Like,
only for a couple of years.
Yeah, the government was like a decade behind catching up with all this shit that was going on. You used to be able to send PayPal, instant transfers, the books transferred. So you could say, I want my 10,000 at Pinnacle, and you'd call and say, hey, can you ship it over to the Greek for me? And they would take a transfer. So I started doing that more full time, started getting into the industry. And I'm just going to give you props really quick. And I remember when me and you kind of started getting close, is Lawrence was always a straight business person in terms of talking to the right people and putting people together. Is he had one of the very first big gambling conferences that was in Vegas. And it was when Bodog first came out, because Calvin, what was it before? It was called The Big Book, I think. And then he changed the name. And I remember this was Calvin pre-billionaire. He was probably pre-millionaire, because I remember he was staying at Bally's, and we were sitting in his room bullshitting. And you were sitting there, and everyone was smoking a joint. Calvin was telling a story, and it was your whole idea. And all the industry people came. I was with Pregame at the time. And the next year, Calvin stole your whole entire idea and made it the Bodog conference. So that's kind of when I started getting more involved with the space. Yep. And then I had to make the decision. And, I'll give him kudos. As RJ gave me a long speech and said, look, you cannot do this and put your life into two things. You got to pick. And Paula was pregnant, and it was really a tough decision. My dad was a Ford retiree. And you got to mind, at this time, him being a Ford retiree, this becoming a new industry, my wife's pregnant, my dad was not a happy camper. But, I went all in, and here I am today.
Well, listen, I'm not going to ask you about RJ, but I can call him the gift that keeps giving. You went over to Pregame. You built that company up with him. You did such an outstanding job. The company is still doing well. You can visit them anytime you want. And then you left, and that's where we got you. And man, I gotta tell you, we are super pumped still about it. Johnny, just so everybody knows, you're not just a businessman and marketing guru. You're also an incredible sports gambler. You came, you tied for first in what was called the Hilton contest at the time, the Westgate Super Contest, and you lost.
So no, I didn't lose. And real quick, because I just don't want to give myself a false resume. I'm really good at context and information, and what I did when I bet, and there was a time where I was getting totals, college basketball totals, moving 4 or 5 points in middling, and setting guys up with bot accounts like Ace does. I am outlawed from probably any bookie in Michigan, and it was just because of knowing the right people and getting the information. But it was, you might have it in front of you. It might have been 2004. We were in the Hilton Super Contest. There was 500 entries or so, and there was a bunch of people clustered around first through third. And I remember getting on the plane, and all of our games were losing. And I get off, and this is going to sound funny, my pager was going off. And I looked, and I had an old school cell phone. I remember calling, because this was, like I said, it was 2004, so 15 years ago. And all of our games came back, and we're sitting in first place of the Super Contest. And there was one game left. Last game of the whole thing, it was the Giants and Cowboys. It was Sunday night. I want to say it was either Thursday or Sunday Night Football. The two guys behind us had.
Well, there was no Thursday, so it was Sunday Night Football.
So, and if anyone wants to see it, I'll probably tweet out the link. I sent it to Lawrence, because I actually found the final 2 minutes of that game on YouTube, so Lawrence could see that I wasn't bullshitting. I'm at the Venetian with a bunch of friends. We're drinking Long Islands, and back then Jaeger bombs were the cool thing. So we're shit-faced. We're dead in first. The Cowboys they're dogs. They were not covering. They go down and score with a minute and 40 left. I go batshit crazy. Security comes out. I'm like, dude, I just won the effing Super Contest. We're high-fiving. Giants go the length of the field. The Cowboys get some kind of penalty, automatic first down kind of thing. They get within range, and in the final play of the final game of that season and the final deciding thing for the contest, I want to say Eli might have been a rookie that year. They score a touchdown to end the game, to win and cover, and it became until this day, the only three-person tie for first place in the Super Contest ever. And I say, and I will dispute anybody, my beat is probably, in my opinion, the worst beat anyone could ever come up with for NFL betting. I lost the Super Contest on the final play of the final.
Well, you didn't lose it, Johnny. You tied with two other people.
There's a big difference in a couple $100,000 and only getting 125. So my eyes, I could never say that I was the outright champion, and it was a six-figure swing. So what they ended up doing is they took first, second, and third, and they did an even chop amongst the three of us.
He's Johnny Detroit, COO of WagerTalk Media. Johnny, you know sports betting, you know poker. We've spoken about how you were a part of Team Bodog. You're good friends with Kata and a few other poker guys. You also know fantasy football. You run a $5,000 fantasy football league. Joe Kata, cousin Sel from the Kimmel Show. Clay Travis, Dave Williams, Jay Farber, Kelly, Todd Furman, a friend of Wager Talks, outstanding podcast, Beat the Book or Bookie, one of those things, and Doug Kezarian. I don't know him. Tell us about the fantasy league you run.
You missed out the main guy. Van Pelt's actually in the league.
I don't know. Van Pelt? Who the hell's Van Pelt?
It's funny you skipped the whole
I'll tell you a story about a pelt. If you
is the funny thing is we actually have a huge waiting list, and I kicked somebody out who was pissing me off last year, and that's how Doug from ESPN. He actually he's the host of the show that Cheat is on in ESPN.
Right.
And this year I want to say he went down to Furman and Van Pelt maybe for the whole thing, but this is the God's honest truth. I run a $1,000 league and a $500 league. For a league that's $5,000 with this shit ton of egos, right? In which I will say this, it is a pain in the ass to schedule the draft because you have Kelly I got a Bleacher Report thing. Dave's Flaming Man or whatever the hell he was at. Van Pelt's I got to do my show on ESPN. Doug has his show. It took me a week to get a set date that some of the people even had to do it on a plane. I think Clay Travis did his on a plane. Of all the leagues that I run, it is the least bitching, complaining league I have. Once we go, most of these guys, nobody bitches. I mean, Kelly does. Kelly
Okay,
bitches.
I was just going to say, Kelly bitched so much last year, I heard about it.
Oh, she does so much. It's yes. Kelly.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, so we'll leave it at that.
So, Johnny, you know fantasy, you know poker, you know sports betting, you know marketing, you run, pretty much 90% of the staff of WagerTalk reports into your department. But without question, your greatest achievement was at the Absinthe show in Caesar's Palace. Why don't you tell us about that?
So, and you didn't know this whole part. I was in Vegas a few weeks earlier, and we were going from the Aria to somewhere to eat, and they had a freak rainstorm, and it never rains like that in Vegas. So a lot of the concrete outside is like a decorative, right? So there's nothing, for traction. So it was raining, and it was me, Ace, RJ, my friend Armando, and we were running, and I had dress shoes on, and I slipped, flipped, landed, got a concussion, and shattered my collarbone in 3 spots. So first off, taking an ambulance ride on a weekend on a packed Vegas strip with a fractured collarbone is not the most enjoyable thing. So a few weeks later, I go out with my old lady, Paula, and another couple, and a friend of mine was a Hive guy at the Hard Rock, so he comped everything and then gave us a huge credit line for rehab. So we get shit-faced. We go back to the room, we had tickets for Absinthe, and then we go, and I have this video also, I'll tweet that out to entertain everyone. Lauren saw it, and it was like, oh my God, is that you? So I had this big brace I had to wear, because you can't get a cast or anything for a fractured collarbone, kind of just has to heal. So I was drunk, so I totally forgot it. So we go to Absinthe, we're like second or third row, and they do this skit during the show.
Yep. I'm going to bring it up right now, Johnny, so everyone can see.
Oh, boy. So at Absinthe, which is one of the best shows in Vegas, it's so hilarious. It's very crude, very racist, very sexist. You got to have thick skin. They do a bit where they take a white guy, a black guy, and they pick an Asian girl out of the audience, and it's a lap dance contest.
Yeah.
And so when I go, it's the usual, oh, the cool black guy here. We got the dorky white guy. So I'm sitting there like, shit, I'm already like the dorky white guy. I'm screwed. So what do I do? So as I go up, I got some tattoos. So I start stripping, and I don't even know if you could hear it in the video. The guy's like, holy shit, the guy just got out of fucking prison. So the crowd goes crazy. I end up winning the contest. And as we're leaving, the security guy pulls me aside and goes, dude, you're the only white guy that I've ever seen win. And Kelly told me she's been there 3 times. All 3 times a black dude wins. And she's like, you're the only white guy I've ever seen win that show. So true story.
So I just want to let you know, Viv texted me right now saying, stop texting, which I need, but I wasn't texting. I was actually queuing up the video. So here's the video of Johnny's world famous lap dance.
Oh, jeez.
Unbuttoning the shirt, giving a little butt rub.
Why can't I see it? I'm just seeing your phone on the screen. Am I not seeing it because I'm on the show?
Yeah, because my Skype camera is a bit of a disaster. Oh, I love this move, Johnny. Oh, the grind right up against the navel technique.
Oh, look at there comes the shirt with the tats and everything.
Oh, you can see it?
Oh, I can see it now because you're holding your phone right up to the camera.
All right. So that's the show. So after watching that video, the thing that occurred to me more than anything else, forget your incredible moves and the amount of sex appeal you oozed. Who the hell wears undershirts like that?
It was under my dress shirt, man.
Yeah, but why don't they have sleeves? The concept of I got to stop you. I never understood that undershirt. The concept of wearing an undershirt is to keep the pit stains in place so they don't hit the overshirt.
I don't really.
You're wearing a freaking muscle shirt. Like you literally look like you came from a glory hole.
What?
You're in leather. You're in like jeans, boots, and a tucked in muscle undershirt. Do you still wear those ridiculous undershirts?
I just want to see his muscle shirt.
Oh, you want to see Johnny's muscle shirt? Here, there it is.
Continue. Let's talk more important.
Get on the camera. There's the muscle shirt. What do you think?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
I heard from upstairs you complaining.
Show everybody
He's
what
jealous
you.
that you-
That's my eldest.
He's just jealous that he wouldn't have won. He would have been another white guy that just went down.
Yeah, dude, I loved that video. It made my day, but I just couldn't understand the undershirt at all. I wear undershirts all the time, but they have sleeves.
I don't know, man. It was just
I'm surprised it's not mesh.
the wife beater, bro. I don't know. Honestly, I think part of it too is once you start getting tattoos, you get in the mindset that you wear shirts that show your tattoos. So I don't know. It's not like I'm gonna walk around with a white beater, so I guess it kind of doesn't make sense for me to do it.
Anyway, I loved that video, and congratulations on being the first white guy to ever win that contest. Johnny, you owned a martini bar called The Mix with 2 X's.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and then I'll quickly tell you about the bar I owned for one day.
It was in Novi. It was an area where there was a lot of like bars and clubs and whatnot, and some friends of mine owned it. And I was kind of transitioning. It was around the time that Bobby and everybody started getting busted by the feds, and I kind of had to transition out of that world. And I was like, you know what? Let's look into the bar business. So I owned it for about 2 years. It was an amazing time, and a lot of the people that worked there for us, I guess you would say, I remain friends with. I mean, still talk to them to this day, going to their weddings. And true story is, when Bobby got busted, they took everything. I'm talking, they even took the change out of his cars they confiscated. He had to borrow money to get his dogs because they were at the groomers when all of this happened. And me and Bob were always really close friends, but it was one thing to him that like made us even closer. Bob's an older, fat white guy, right? And the mix was young crowd, the bartenders, young, attractive dudes, chicks with their, half their breasts showing, really attractive young girls. And, Bob, when he was younger, used to bartend. And I mean, like I said, he took everything. So I went to my partners and I said, look, I know he doesn't fit the mold, dude, for a bar like this. I said, he's one of my best friends. He's always been loyal to me. You guys don't really have a fucking choice because, a lot of people who come into this bar come in because of me or they know me. We're giving him a job as a bartender. And it's just something that, to me, it just, I don't know if it's because how I grew up and the way the people that I grew up with, like loyalty was always super important. And, Bob was always good to me. And he had a lot of friends when that shit happened that, when he couldn't buy the bottles or buy the strippers anymore or treat on the first class flights to Vegas and skip the lines.
Yeah.
They weren't friends anymore. Where, I was there when he was at the lowest point he ever was, and it just never changed our friendship. So it was a good time. I mean, the bar, it was a funny thing, and it just shows you how people don't get business and they try getting out of their comfort zone and they just don't know what they're doing. Is, every guy wants to own a bar. And when we had to sell it, some rich white dudes bought it, and they were in like automotive and this other things, and they turned it into a sports bar. One, they changed the name to Mixed Sports. So it's like they didn't even really change the name. Mind you, we didn't have a kitchen. So how did he open a sports bar with no kitchen? We just had like this little cheesy deep fryer thing. So it's kind of sad. It lasted like 8 months and ended up closing down. But it was a real interesting, exciting 2 years of my life. It made me realize I'll never in my life want to own a bar again. When you realize that you're seeing 3 or 4 different vendors just for your beer, it's not this fun, glamorous, exciting life that people think. And I highly suggest never owning a bar.
So I owned a bar for one day. You didn't know about this, but it's a great story. Also, Vivian just commented that you killed it in the wife beater.
Thanks, Viv.
Yeah, you can give Viv a wife beater lap dance next time.
Message me on Zoom later.
Yeah, so he's doing Zoom lap dances in his wife beater from 8 to 9 Eastern time on Tuesday nights. So Johnny, I think Teddy knows about this. He probably is the only one in the group. So I wanted to own a bar in Vegas.
Oh.
And I have a very good friend in Vegas named Jeremy. He owns a DJ service. He has a contract with a lot of the big places. And he wanted to own a bar in Vegas too because he had all the equipment, the DJs, all the stuff, blah, 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 blah. But we didn't want to pay for the bar. We didn't want to like build one, come up with a name, hire people. We're like, how can we own a bar without building a bar? Dude, we approached Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in the Venetian. We actually talked them into giving us every Friday and Saturday night. It was called Wax with 2 X's, just like your mix with 2 X's.
See, we're meant to be buddies.
Yeah, it was called Wax with 2 X's. And you got to see all the wax figures. They were all there, but behind doors and everything. It lasted one night. The fire marshals shut it down. But what a great idea, right?
Wow. You never told me that story.
Don't you think that would have been a monster bar? Like
Especially,
in the freaking museum.
Well, at that time, too, because that was my hot spot.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, the Venetian, it's still gorgeous property.
Tower was the happening place.
It was when it was like after the Bellagio, like the Bellagio came in and kind of like offset the Caesars and stuff, and the Bellagio was the hotness. And then you had the Venetian come in, and that was the new hotness. And that was like more towards the tail end, but it was still in its prime. So that would have been a 6 spot.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing about it was the fire marshals had signed off on it. The city approved it. Everything was approved. And then for some reason, after the first night, they just backed away from it and ended up not happening. But
whoever owned Tower or something probably slipped them a bunch of money and saying, close this shit down.
Okay, so Taif Taka asks a question. And first, he asked about you earlier, which I think is probably what you were looking for. Johnny Lawrence, how long do you see yourselves captaining the Wager Talk ship? So, look, I'll tell you flat out, Johnny and I are going nowhere. None of us are going anywhere. We're seeing this through. So, it could be a day and we get an offer we can't turn down tomorrow. It could be a decade. But I'll guarantee you something. We are going nowhere until this business is sold. And even if and when it's sold, we will be getting a personal services contract. This is our baby. Johnny, what do you say to that?
To be honest, I'm getting paid. And I saw some of the comments. I don't remember who it was. They graduated from school and they're asked about marketing. Is what I've learned is you could work 60, 70 hours for something either you own or for a company that you enjoy working versus 40, right? If I would have stayed, and no disrespect to 9 to 5 or my friends that are still at Ford or one of the big 3, if I would have had to stay and work that life, it's just wasn't in me. You know what I mean? Like this is so eclectic on who you deal with, right? Like it has this, and then you're, down here, and it's all over. It's so exciting. And the biggest thing to me, I've been doing this a long time. And I know a lot of guys that, were huge back in the day, or they worked at these huge sites. And it's literally almost like we're a family. You know what I mean? Like I'll talk, me and Teddy will talk about our kids. You know what I mean? Carmine sending Limoncello to the office. And I know for a fact.
Lawrence bailing out anybody who needs bailing out.
Across the board is, whether we're talking about riding the Peloton or, I'm talking pro wrestling with Dwayne Bryan or, Marco talking about wings or whatever it may be. Me and Kelly talking politics. It's like these people have become my friends. Where it's not where I'm going to work per se. I enjoy it. And so many of the people that I talk to say the exact same thing. And some of these guys could probably go to a site that still at this time maybe is bigger because their legacy, like a Covers. But there's a difference of doing what you're doing, maybe making less, but you enjoy it. And at the end of the night, you're happy and you can't wait for the next day versus like, God, I hate this. So you could only look at your bank account so much, and there's the point.
No, you have to love what you're doing, and we all love what we're doing.
Oh, and I do, and I love the people that I work with, and it's in every. Hakeem had a monster month when he was hot in his NBA, and I legitimately was happy for him. You know what I mean? Not just for the business, like the Melissas when they, make a customer happy, or they make a sale, or they come up with an idea. Like they're legitimately, they love, Ralph.
Yeah.
Right? You're not saying they don't love other guys, but they love Ralph. They get excited, or to me, it's so different than anything that I've ever done. And to be honest, Lawrence, I think that's one of the reasons. Like what my ideas, the high-end business stuff from you or Rick, the industry knowledge from the Marcos, the Ralphs. I'm not trying to leave names out, the Teddys. It only goes so far, right? All of us loving to work together. Like, what's next? What's next? Can we do now? What can we do more of?
And Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you feel like we just started?
Oh, it's. A lot of people don't know this. Is when this pandemic happened, I was flying out to Vegas that Sunday before shit shut down. We had a 3-hour live show at Caesar's Palace. They were wanting us to start doing daily stuff. I mean, I don't want to say names, but there was large media conglomerates that are starting to get into sports betting that were on the phone with us. There are people that, hey, can you fill this content? Like what we have planned is even if our competitors, and they could listen and they could question me and they could think that they can compete, even if they try replicating what we're doing, by the time that they caught up to where we're at, we would be 6 moves ahead. Like we're playing advanced chess. I don't know anyone if you're a Big Bang Theory fan, but there's a thing where they play with the multiple level chess that Sheldon came up with. Like we're playing multi-level chess.
I think Star Wars came up with it first.
They're playing checkers. Like they're thinking of this move. Like, okay, we need bills to pay.
Okay,
like, do a game of the year. Like,
I'm going to cut you off. We're not insulting any competitors. We're just playing advanced level chess. Let's call it that.
I'm not insulting them, but it's true. I mean, there's a difference. It's facts. I mean, and that's the whole thing is I don't ever want to get to this point, whether it's my day-to-day friendships or work, like facts should still matter. And it's people get offended by facts. And I'm sorry, 2 + 2 is 4, whether you want it to be 5 or not. And to look and see that we have, close to 49,000 YouTube subscribers, hundreds of thousands of social media followers. Like, I'm not going to sit back and be ashamed of that.
Man. It's a badge.
If they're offended by that, they can kick rocks.
There you go. He's Johnny Detroit. We're going to answer a couple more questions and call it a show. Johnny, again, tie fast, another great question, and I'm not picking on one guy specifically, but if the question is worth answering, I'm going to read it, and that is, what would you say the biggest challenge in the terms of business activity is? And I'm going to change that question around a little bit. What is our biggest challenge? And Johnny, from my perspective, and you and I talk about this a lot, the biggest challenge facing us is sort of the no man's land that we sit in. The industry, anybody over the age of 40 understands this industry to be very negative. It has very negative connotations. It's an industry that cold called you, that lied to you, that scammed you, that conned you, that didn't give the records out correctly, that had, 6 different clubs and you were always on the losing one, but every other one won. We got an incredibly large group of jaded people that we have to market to over the age of 40. The people under the age of 40 think they can win without us, don't understand why we do what we do, don't understand why they should pay for our work. That's why we sit in the gray area, and it takes a lot of effort to talk a 25-year-old into understanding that paying for picks is probably going to make them more money, or at the very least lose them less money than if they did it on their own. And the 45-year-olds don't understand why they're still buying from people who con them. That would be the biggest challenge that I think we face. Would you agree?
I honestly, before you started, that was, to me, it was almost like a hybrid thing. The first one is the education of the customers, because I see the emails when a big play loses. It's, oh, you scammed me in this, and when they get an instant reaction, taking accountability or saying, hey, let's extend this, like they're blown away by the way that we do things different. To me, outside of what you said, is the 2 other things, because to me there's 3. So I'm not going to regurgitate what you just said in just a different format, because what you said it perfectly. To me, the next one is the growth. Is we have so many opportunities, so many ideas, so many things to do. It's almost impossible to keep up with. I mean, when the pandemic started, we were almost sitting together like, well, one positive of this is we have a laundry list of things that we want to do and build out, and customer outreach and all of these data projects that it was impossible for us to do, because every time that we would do something, oh, look, here's Caesar's Palace. We got to do a 3-hour show. Rick's like, shit, I'm working on the lines, but we need to get a desk. What are our topics going to be? So we constantly, there's a term that I use a lot with the people that, within our company that they used to use when I was at Ford, fire drill projects, right? Like something that it's a fire, so you have to stop what you're doing and work on it. We get so many fire drill projects, because how do you go to Caesar's Palace and say, hold on a minute, we're working on some shit, we'll get back to you? Like, you can't, right? Like, you got to respond. There was one of the big conglomerates that, we looked it up. They own multiple brands, multi-billion-dollar company. They wanted to have a call. We had to drop everything and have the call. So, that to me is the other thing that is really difficult. And the other one to me is we're going in such an unknown, right? Like when we did stop doing the games of the year, we didn't know, was that going to bankrupt us? Is it going to make every Saturday and Sunday when the consumer looks at all these other sites and they see that one of our guys has, a Big Ten 5%, but the other site has a Big Ten game of the year. So going back to what you said is that whole education, if they're brainwashed at the big game of the year, and then the WagerTalk has a Big Ten 5%, and these other sites have a Big Ten game of the year, how do you compete against that?
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that we're doing with engaging the audience, providing so much free content, I mean, and this isn't to like pat ourselves on the back, but whether it's the software to run this stuff, whether it's the studio time, like we take all of the money that we have coming in, and the first thing that when we talk is, okay, what can we do next? Oh, let's hire a guy to help the odds guy fine tune it so it's designed correctly. What software do we buy to make the shows better? Who do we pay to teach us how to do it? So the thing of the education, clearly going into the unknown and making these drastic industry changing decisions and hoping we're right, knowing that some of these things that we keep pushing all in on at any point could screw us. But, by the grace of whatever God you believe in, we've been blessed that our ideas have worked and we have an amazing team to push all of that stuff forward. Yeah. So I'm beyond happy, to be honest.
Typh, I'll answer the rest of your questions privately. I know you want some of these questions we don't want to get into. We don't want to really talk about, how our business model is evolving. Johnny, Rick, and I have a game-changing idea to how to spin this industry on its head that we plan on launching in about 12 to 18 months.
Real quick, is
we're not getting.
Yep. Real quick, Lawrence, and that is what you just said. Is that was the other thing I wanted to bring up of why we're different and the challenges. Is it would be easiest for us at this point with the audience we have to kind of say, okay, let's replicate what other people have done. Most people don't get to the stage where you're getting to that what's called a critical mass, where you could bet on it, get 60,000 YouTube views. Is at this point to have games of the year, to say, screw, why do all these videos? Let's just do one a day. Like, let's save the time and money. Let's do
And
this.
We've talked about this, dude.
Yes. We're saying, like, our calls that we have are, what can we do different? How do we do different? And let's do it. Not saying let's keep up with the Joneses. I want it where the Joneses are keeping up with us. And that is what I think, if you had to really look at WagerTalk, is besides the changing and taking that taboo you mentioned, Lawrence, away, it's going forward. How do you make it that new person, that 21-year-old, that guy, that person that maybe never bet before in a state that's now legalized, that wants to bet $20 on Monday Night Football? I want it where the first experience they have in this industry is not the game of the year person. I want it because they search YouTube and they find us and they see a video, and I can't change the 15-year-old, 50-year-old that's been burned so many times by all these shucksters and scam artists. Like, no matter how amazing the Melissas are, like, they're still going to always in the back of their mind think we're scumbags, and that's what it is. But what we can do is we could change the future of this industry by reaching those people first before they're tainted by everybody else in our space. And that's what our goal is.
Carmine says, let's have a Vegas get together. And I agree, Johnny. It's something we've spoken about. We need to do it. And I actually think after COVID ends might be a really good time. I mean, it's tough because I don't know if people are going to have the disposable income to fly down to Vegas. But Carm, I promise you we will put something together in the next 6 months or so. And we will definitely have a big Vegas party. That is for sure. John Reed comments, Johnny hasn't stopped patting himself on the back. Absolutely not, John. I'm the one that's been patting Johnny on the back the whole show. And
I said a lot of we and other stuff. What are you talking? You've been patting me. I've been trying to give credit to everyone else. Because that's the thing is none of this is possible. This isn't bullshit. I'm not saying this because of that comment. Lawrence, Rick, whoever always say this. In the beginning, running the day-to-day, when we didn't have the resources, yes, in the very beginning, I will take most of the credit because we didn't have a team per se, right? But to the level that we got now, none of this is possible. I'm not on bet on it, right? Like, I'm not hosting these daily videos like you are. I'm not building the ad service. I got us to a certain level. The amazing team that we have is what's getting us to where we need to go. And that is the God's honest truth.
Yeah, so I take all the credit.
Well, you help.
No, I'm kidding, Johnny. But I was thinking to myself, if you go to a great restaurant and the cook makes you the best meal of your life, does he get all the credit, or how much credit you get for choosing the right restaurant? I chose you. I'm done. I'm clean and good to go, baby. On that note, let's call it a show. Everybody, thank you so much. What, Johnny?
I just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter, Johnny_Detroit. I mean, not as entertaining as Kelly or Ace, and I'm not going to be on videos every day like Prez, but running the day-to-day. If you have questions or whatnot or ideas, feel free to reach out to me or email me at johnny@wagertalk.com is my email.
Yeah, and that's a great thing you just said, because, guys, we want your ideas. We want your feedback. If there's shows we don't do that you want to hear, send it to us. If there's, a party in the Bahamas and you've got a discount at Atlantis, let us know. Anything, handicapper out there that you love that is not provided by our family of sites, tell Johnny. We're all in this together. Everybody, thank you so much. Abel, shine on you crazy diamond with headphones. See my headphones, Abel? $600 Sony MP blah 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 blah's noise canceling. You put these these cans on your ears. You listen to Shine on You Crazy Diamond after a joint. Forget the Doors. I mean, they're good, but they're not Pink Floyd. Johnny, I can't thank you enough, my brother.
Thank you enough. Thank you, sir.
Later, everybody. Make sure to tune in tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, for Drew Welf and Rob Vino to talk college football. Be well and have a great Monday.